Good evening, comrades, friends of the Democratic Labour Party. Let me welcome you to the St.Michael North Constituency Branch meeting this evening, February the 25th. February is known as the month of love. And we love each and every one in this room this evening. Thank you. This evening we have an array of, I don't want to say beautiful speakers because one or too many involved, but we do have an array of speakers. And just let me send out this disclaimer. Somebody asked me why my name was not on the list of speakers. I simply said to them, I am the representative for the branch. I am the deputy chairman of the branch, so I'll have a lot of speaking to this evening. So there was no need to put my name on the list. Nevertheless, let us start as how all good meetings start, by inviting Mr. John Yard to the podium to say a word of prayer. Not the Calypsonian, the senior John Yard.
Thank you, sir. And as any good meeting starts with prayer, we ask our audience to stand. Father, we thank you for the organization called the Democratic Labour Party. We thank you, God, for its policies, its principles, and its personnel. We thank you, Lord, for how you've helped this organization to impact the landscape of our island over the past 68 years. And this evening, as we meet to discuss the people's business, we ask for your divine wisdom and understanding. Be with us this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Yard. Custom dictates that we recognize important and special guests in our meetings this evening. Let me take this opportunity, and this will go on during the course of this evening's proceedings. Let me take this opportunity to recognize Mr. Stephen Blackett, the General Secretary of the Democratic Labour Party, Mr. Richard Seeley, former Minister of Tourism. He's at the back by the food. And let me also pay special recognition to perhaps, I don't want to date her, but the oldest member of the St.Michael North constituency branch. If you see her, you will not know she's that age. Adele, stand up and take a bow. Adele has given me permission to tell this body that she'll be 92 years old in October. Now we have, as I said before, an array of lovely speakers. And to open the baton for us this evening is a young attorney at law who gained some fame, I don't want to say notoriety. She was interviewing a client some time ago, and the phone mysteriously fell from, no disrespect, Morgan, and the phone mysteriously fell from under the desk while she was conducting that interview. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, put your hands together as we welcome Ms. Faith Graves to the podium.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, family of the Democratic Labour Party, executive of the Democratic Labour Party, members, executive members, friends and supporters. Good evening. Hello, I can't hear you. Hello. Okay, just making sure that you're here and with me. Now, this evening, we have come to address some serious business as it regards our hard-earned tax-paying dollars and where our hard-earned tax-paying dollars is going. I know most of you here work hard, or all of you here, not most of you, all of you here have worked hard throughout your lives to earn a living and to contribute to the development of this country. Yes? Right. And you want to know that your money is being well managed, correct? Yes. And if it is not being well managed, there are some persons that have to account for that mismanagement. Now, Barbados is one of the most heavily taxed countries in the Caribbean. Yeah. Somebody said the world. Yes? But for a country whose citizens are taxed virtually through their eyeballs, there is not enough transparency in the operations of this government when it comes to our money. And I'm not making these statements lightly. I make these statements based on the evidence provided by the one office whose business it is to know or to investigate where our funds are going. And that office is the Office of the Auditor General. Now, just from a cursory look, we ain't got to the in-depth look yet, but just from a cursory look of the Auditor General's report of 2022, I started to hold my head. Let me tell you, the Auditor General outlined concerns in his 2022 report after there were concerns raised in relation to the National Conservation Commission. And this is only one of the many examples of mismanagement of our funds that was outlined in that report. Now, to put in context, the National Conservation Commission, they have a responsibility which includes the maintenance of beaches and parks and gardens throughout this island. And as part of its operations, from the year 2018 to 2022, the Commission was involved in a number of special projects, which include the National Beautification Program and establishment and maintenance of many parks in various constituencies across Barbados. Now, as a result of concerns outlined by the chairman of the NCC, in a report to the Ministry of Environment and National Beautification, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Environment and National Beautification requested an audit to be done. Now, there were concerns highlighted by the board with respect to the absence of contractual arrangements for grease trap and septic well cleaning services and the confirmation of fees charged for removal of debris. Now, the Auditor General reviewed the period between the 1st of January 2022 and the 31st of December 2022. And I will outline to you, these are not my words, these are the Auditor General's words, what his findings were. The audit revealed, excuse me, that there were a number of issues regarding the services provided, including the NCC's failure to agree to rates before commencement of the routine maintenance, the absence of competitive selection process, the lack of authorization, and non-verification of work done. The Auditor General outlined that there was no evidence of a competitive selection process for the services provided by entities, and as a result, there was no way to determine if the rates charged were the best value for our money. For example, one entity was used by the NCC to clean grease traps and to provide other cleaning services at various parks and recreational areas. And this entity was paid over $300,000, listen, between January and December of 2022 for this service. Now that is concerning. The Auditor General also found that the payments made to two entities for removal of debris in the 360 program were approved by management without evidence that the appropriate checks and balances were conducted to verify that the work was done. That sounds daunting to you? This is supported by the fact that no logs existed for the services provided to allow for verification of the work. So they could not properly compare what was outlined in the invoices submitted as it pertains to the work that was claimed to be done. And as a result, according to the Auditor General, there is a lack of transparency and internal controls, along with the risk of unnecessary costs being incurred. Now picture this. Imagine you hire a carpenter or a mason to do work on your house. You get a big bill from the carpenter or the mason for the work supposedly done, but you do not check to see if he did the work and if the work matches what he billed you for. Does that make sense? Another concern that the Auditor General pointed out in his report was regarding the procurement practices of the NCC and their failure to obtain a schedule of fees for services provided. He said that there was no evidence provided to indicate that fees payable for services provided were established prior to the engagement of suppliers. He said a schedule of fees should have been established for standardized repeat services and formally ratified by the board of the NCC, who should have been in a position to determine if the rate charge was of a satisfactory nature. This government is basically giving away our money without checking to see why they are giving away the money, and if we, as the people of this country, are receiving value for our hard-earned tax dollars. My people, this is only the tip of the iceberg. And in the interest of time, I cannot get into everything I would have outlined or I would have pinpointed that stood out to me in this report. But the Auditor General looked at the overall expenditure of this government in his 2022 report. And at page 28 and 29 of his report, he looked at the expenditures recorded in the financial statements related to the amounts charged on the consolidated fund for goods received or services performed on behalf of ministries and departments during that financial year. And he said these amounts should have been approved by Parliament. Now, he outlined in this report that there were issues pertaining to expenditures not approved. And he outlined further, specifically, the spending in excess of budget. He said a review of Schedule 14 of the financial statements revealed instances where non-statutory expenditure was in excess of the levels approved in the estimates for some ministries and departments as required. And he said, he gave the example of QEH. That sounds like a touchy topic, eh? He said that there was excess, not expenditure, excess expenditure for QEH. And he said that that excess expenditure was 23 million plus. He also pinpointed the Caves of Barbados Limited, which he said the excess expenditure was $3 million plus. And he also outlined the Urban Development Commission, which was $500,000 plus in excess expenditure. Now, the Auditor General made it a point to note that incurring expenditure in excess of the amounts approved by Parliament is contrary to the rules, to the financial rules. And he pinpointed specifically Rule 60, subsection 1, which requires that all expenditure must be provided for in the estimates. Now, he also outlined that amounts totaling 165 million plus were recorded by the Treasury as other operating expenses. However, supporting documentation for these transactions were not provided, and hence he was unable to verify the nature of the transactions for which these amounts relate. My people, this is not a $2 variation or a $5 variation. This is millions of dollars that is unaccounted for, and that we need this government to tell us where our money has gone. We need this government to tell us how our money was spent. This is the worst government I have ever seen when it comes to accountability. As soon as anybody tries to say anything, as soon as anybody notices any issues or comments on the foolishness of this government, they want to shut you up. They want to create a culture in this country that you are not to probe into your own affairs, that you, the people, have entrusted this government with. You would not believe that there is absolutely little to no protection for one of the most important whistleblowers in this country, which is the Auditor General. And it is my submission this evening that we need to protect the office that is watching over our money. We need to put legislation in place to ensure that any document that is produced in good faith in this country by the Auditor General is considered privileged. This government wants to send a message that you are not to talk about them. They want to criminalize ordinary citizens of Barbados when we express ourselves about their mismanagement. We cannot express ourselves even online, to say anything about them. Least we cause them ridicule, or least we cause them embarrassment. And I know you guys would have heard about the cybercrime legislation. They want to fine you, the citizens of Barbados, $70,000 or imprison you. You are liable to be in prison for 7 years for talking. But I encourage you to talk, to speak, to rise, and to let your voices be heard against the nonsense that they are doing to our people. They are the ones that are trying to intimidate the people and causing the people emotional distress. They say that they stand for good and transparent governance. But they have been in government unopposed for 2 terms. And they still refuse, with any seriousness, to bring a freedom of information legislation to the table. Legislation that would provide for the ordinary citizen, the investigative journalists, the investigative arms of a system to search for, to request, or to produce information about the government and about who they have elected and the agencies of that government. Instead, they want to sweep everything under the carpet. And anyone who dares to lift that carpet and says there is dust, or anyone who dares to say who swept the dust under the carpet, they want us to be intimidated and for us to be criminalized. But let me tell you this, it can't work. I will be one of them who will always ask the government, where is our money? How was our money spent? Provide me with justification as to why our money was spent in certain ways. Because that money was earned by blood, by sweat, and by tears. It was earned fair and square. And we must not be afraid to ask the hard questions. We must not be afraid to ask where our money has gone. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Comrades, we want to thank Comrade Faith for asking that very poignant question, where the money gone? Some of us like to deal in statistics and quote heavily from various economic agencies. Some of us prefer to have a hands-on, have a look-see. Last Friday evening, I went to a place called Atlantic Breeze. Myself and 2 other comrades, Tyra and Walter Maloney. The reason for being there was that there was a complaint about some houses built by an individual who, mark my words, is very popular when it comes to construction. Comrades, let us pause for the arrival of President Ronnie Yearwood. We gave you a good hard seat. Right, as I was... No mishaps. Right, as I was saying, the comrades and I went and visited this housing district, relatively new. And outside, the houses are very pleasing to the eye, you know, well-appointed bungalows, pretty colors, you know. But we had the opportunity to speak to one of the residents, and she's given me permission to use her name, Margot and Bertram McCollin, husband and wife. Now, they are what people call returning nationals, or people who have lived overseas for quite a number of years and come back here to make themselves comfortable in their twilight, sunset years, whatever term you want to use. And they were to the point of tears at the quality of construction of these houses. Tiles lifting, pipes leaking, roofs leaking. Well, the walls crack open already. They said they reached out to one of the many ministers of housing that the Barbers Day Party has had so far, and the response was that don't talk to the press and don't tell nobody about your uncomfortable situation. What alarmed me most, comrades, was that there are two sets of people who live in these houses. There are 52 houses. On the one hand, you have young civil servants who just got a mortgage. The houses cost in the region of $318,000. And you have the returning nationals, I'll use that for the want of a better term, who have invested all their savings into these properties and can't enjoy them. And the young civil servants were a little bit apprehensive about speaking to us because, as Comrade Faith mentioned, the frightened. We live in a Barbados that you're not supposed now to speak of any wrongdoings because it would upset the Prime Minister, not the ministers, because nobody don't care about them, but the Prime Minister. And the young civil servants spoke to us, but they begged us hard. Don't use the name. And rather than the contractor, thanks, offer the persons who bought the houses from him some measure of comfort and support, he sends a letter to CBC to tell the people if they talk about he can sue them. Now, can you imagine that people live in houses that they don't know when to go, and the rain fall, if the bed can get floodway, if the pipes can burst, and rather than take the people's concerns at heart, he sent a letter to CBC threatening the people. Mark my words, his time will come. Comrades, ladies and gentlemen, we promise you an array of beautiful speakers. A few Sundays ago, I had reason to be in St. John. Beautiful parish, very cold at night though. So. And we had a number of speakers. We had the giant Ronnie there. We had Felicia. But there was one apprehensive young lady who said she hadn't spoken to anybody, such large numbers before. She hadn't addressed the crowd, and she was a little bit fearful. Comrades, when that young lady took to the platform, to use a Bajan term, she light up St. John. I have great pleasure in welcoming to this podium our next speaker, Sister Amoy Gildenborn. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be here. Short stuff, I don't have my heels today. The theme for this evening's discussion, we've all been repeatedly hearing. Where is the money going? Better? All right. Well, where it gone? According to Faith, we would like to know where it is being spent. what it is being spent on. Now, while I understand that as a developing nation like ourselves, at some point in time, the government may have occasion where it may need to borrow money, right? I mean, let's be fair. Whether it be for infrastructure, to develop the nation, borrowing money is nothing abnormal when we are talking about economies and politics. However, the rate at which this administration is borrowing money is a little concerning. Now, I'm no accountant, but if we are in a situation where the government is spending more money than it is generating, then we have a problem, a serious problem. And while I understand that fiscal debt is nothing to be scared about because we have foreign reserves, that's borrowed. And I'm trying to understand, and the people of Barbados are trying to understand too, how are we repaying this debt? What are our income generating initiatives or projects? Are we still relying on tourism only? I mean, I love tourism. I'm from the old school. Tourism is our business. Let's play our part. But the government has a part to play as well. And with all of these millions of dollars, Faith mentions that this is not $2, this is not buttons, this is millions of dollars. Or should I say billion? Pun intended, being that we got our budget estimates recently. And our healthcare system is a good example of one ministry where money is being thrown at problems without resolution. You cannot fix the problems at QEH with a further $100.9 million, which we recently have been told in the budget estimates that that is what is going to be allotted to QEH. But the problems at QEH seem to be multiplying and compounding. Now, I won't repeat each and every problem that we've been facing at QEH because we'd be here all night. But specifically, our nurses are still underpaid, overworked. Some are hardly paid or not paid at all. In 2024, this is unacceptable. We still have excessive wait times at accident and emergency, and I will forever be preaching that because that is the reality of our situation. That has not changed. Yes, the facility is new, but I will repeat, new does not equate to functional. There is a need for adequate job opportunities for young doctors. I was talking to a colleague of mine recently, and he was explaining the triage process and so forth, which is good because it can identify the seriousness of the persons that come in. But that is not where the extended wait time is being experienced. Now, after you come through the triage, you're waiting for a doctor. Sometimes you spend very long waiting for a doctor. And I would love to think that it's not because the doctors don't give a rat's behind and they're not coming, or they're somewhere in the hospital watching Grey's Anatomy or something. It's just not enough of them. And this is something that we have already known. This is nothing new. And it confuses me when I see members of this administration blame the DLP. Like, you have been in power for 2 terms. You are to blame. Not the old administration. That story is old. It's getting old. Not only is there a need for adequate job opportunities for young doctors, we also need proper internship programs. We have to continually help our doctors, young doctors, develop, so that we don't continually find ourselves in a situation where we have doctors and nurses working 30-hour work shifts. That is a health hazard in and of itself. And in addition to the myriad of issues at QEH, I mean, whether it be beds, to say, the beds, we still have no beds. I can't say we don't have no beds. We are in need of beds. Let's be fair. We're in need of beds. And then we had a data breach in December 2022. And up to this point, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't been updated as to the status of Barbadians' private medical records. I don't know what has been said about that. Swept under the carpet. And I'm going to ask, what is going on with the facility at Harrison's Point, St. Lucie? What is happening with the equipment there? After spending millions setting up this facility, there's nothing being done with the facility. But yet we hear, if I believe it was Senator Jerome Walcott who was advertising that government was thinking about selling it to investors. So are we essentially privatizing healthcare while our primary healthcare institution is degrading? I mean, I asking for a friend, the public. I asking for the public. These questions are legitimate questions. And as the theme for the discussion is, where the money gone? With all of the millions being spent, Barbadians are not seeing the positive results to justify that amount of money. And it is unfortunate that when we look at our polyclinics, the poor state of our polyclinics that are frozen in time. Yes, I said it. They're old. They need updating. Equipment needs updating. Last year, or couple of years, we've seen Eunice Gibson, Sir Winston Scott, Randall Phillips, 6 Roads Polyclinic closed for various reasons, environmental health or otherwise. The latest one was the Horace Hill Outpatients Clinic. After spending $1.2 million in 2021, building a spanking new facility, early up this month we hear it's closed because it's short staff. It's incredulous. These are educated people. And then when Bajans ask questions, they are being silenced. When we have brave souls on social media, those activists who aren't afraid to voice their opinion on the misadministration of this nation, they're publicly lambasted. Some of us are being intimidated on other spheres. because we have a voice, and because we are not afraid to use this voice, we are not afraid to speak on behalf of the citizens of this country. We will not be silenced into a corner. They said to me, be careful. They will drag you through the mud. They will talk about your family. They will talk about your weaknesses. But my back is broad, ladies and gentlemen. My mother raised as a resilient one. And I am not afraid to speak on behalf of the Barbadian people. I will not be silenced. I am going to be a force to be reckoned with. Barbadians, I love this country. I am a proud Barbadian citizen. I carry my flag when I travel. My flag went to me to China. My flag went with me to Trinidad, Grenada, wherever I go. I do a real rupee. I represent the 246. I like to speak big with my chest when I talk about Barbados. Barbadians are asking questions. And the main question that is being asked, especially now that we've seen the budget estimates, is where the money gone? There's also a lacuna. I like that word, lacuna. I mean a big gap, a big disparity, a big problem with the dental services in this country. I was talking to a few of my friends, and we remember when you could go to the polyclinic to get a tooth pull, or a cleaning, or a filling. Once upon a time, Randall Phillips had dental services. Eunice Gibson had dental services. But we were told by the Minister of Health about 2 or 3 years ago that they were having problems with providing comprehensive dental care to Barbadians. Everybody cannot afford a gap-year dental. We have persons that do not have the means to go into a private dental office and receive the health care they need. And after so long of having these same issues, we are still seeing this administration throw money, without dealing with the real problems, without addressing the core of the problems. Now, I don't know if the administration can connect the dots, but the importance of the polyclinics should be clear. Now, Barbadians have universal health care system where every Barbadian is supposed to have access to comprehensive health care, quality health care. I mean, we're taxpayers, we pay for this. However, this is not the case with our polyclinics. The polyclinics should be useful, complementary to our lone primary care facility, the QEH. Any and everything should be going at the QEH. Busto, not QEH, come on. Once upon a time, the polyclinics were used for disseminating the vaccines to persons. I remember going and get my polio shot and my tetanus shot, different shots. The polyclinics are useful. They are important. Yet we see them stuck in 1964. The equipment is rusted. And the nurses and the doctors and the staff are complaining, or I can't say complaining, are begging for resolve for the longest time. I was there when the nurses marched in 2022 and last year, and the nurses, I cannot for the life of me understand how we are still having problems with our nurses. Access to health care is important. And we are in a time now where we see on the news and social media single mothers and parents put their pride one side and come to the public, risk condemnation, risk being laughed at and ridiculed, risk people talking the name. They put those prides aside because they need help. A lot of people are catching their tail in this country. Some of us have jobs and catching our tail. I ain't afraid to say. And gone are the days when people try to keep up with the Joneses. We know what it is. We can't afford certain things. Sacrifice is a great word that is being repeated daily. Our citizens are becoming great balancers as well. We have to balance the taxes. We have to balance the little salaries that don't seem to be increasing. We have to balance the increased cost of living. We have to balance parenting. We have to balance being good Christians for those of you who go to church. It's a balancing act. And not everybody is going to be good at it. No. Very rarely in this country do we highlight mental health issues. And I think it's time that we need to get on the ball. We have a lot of depressed people in this country. And depression affects how you operate in a society. And I don't know why our healthcare system and our social services don't work hand in hand. That is one thing I would like to see happen going forward. I know sometimes when we make these points at these DLP meetings, the government is then rush and go and see what they could say to the public and say to the media so they could say what they're doing. We all see them running about and running around because the end of the fiscal year coming, so they're trying to do this and trying to do that and trying to do the next. But Bajans ain't foolish. They see what is going on. I've been asking for the passed out by me for the longest time to get remolded, resoiled, leveled, cricket pitch on so that the community, my apologies, can utilize the pastor and the pavilion to its full potential. Now all of that is a part of health. Engaging the youth through sports. But only the last couple of weeks, I see they got real mold on the pastor, and I tell myself, this is the same man that tell the community to fix the pastor themselves. But now we got mold from somewhere. I wonder what they're doing. So all of these rush projects, these last-minute endeavors to make half end meet, make it look like they're working hard, doing very little. Barbadians are watching. We are paying attention. And if there's one thing I can be certain about my Barbadian fellow Barbadians, my people like myself, we don't mix matters when it comes to our money. And as my colleague indicated, we work hard. Long days, long nights. Sacrifices and sacrifices. So we are not here for the administration to think that they can do what they want with our money. And then I see our PM come and deflect the questions that are being raised about where the money gone. She even said it herself. Where the money gone? She's using our term now. She's watching us. They are watching us. They want to know if we will buckle underneath the strain. No. No, ma'am. I am proud to be here as a Democratic Labour Party member. I am grateful that I came in at a time when I was surrounded by similarly passionate people, very intelligent and educated women, men too, but the women, I support women in politics, I support women on a whole. And I appreciate the evolution that has been made in the Democratic Labour Party over the past couple months, despite naysayers and detractors. Let's not get distracted. We had a job to do before, and we have a job to do now. As we evolve, we become stronger. We become more unified. I'm not naive. I know they're going to have people that are going to say this and people that are going to say that. That's people's job. That's the public. And even within our own party sometimes. But I extend my positivity and my confidence to you guys. And if you need positive chi and positive energy, and you need a little foot up and a little support, find me. Now, I'm going to end with this. The administration continuously throws money at the QEH. That's one of our major problems, and it takes up a major chunk of our taxpaying dollars. And we're just not seeing the justification for that amount of millions being pumped into the QEH. Do not forsake the polyclinics either. I'm going to say that again. Please do not forsake the polyclinics either. They are important, extremely important. Having worked at Randall Phillips Polyclinic myself, I can tell you, change is needed. The Democratic Labour Party is committed to this change. We are committed. We're committed to working for and on behalf of the people. And I can tell you that as long as I am here I will give 100%. My colleagues will give 100%. So Democratic Labour Party supporters and potential members, because we have members out there. We have persons out there who are interested in what we are doing. They may be scared to come across yet. They may be scared to voice that opinion in public just yet. But we have support in this nation. Yes, we see the comments on social media. They're very good at sending their minions to lambaste you when you make viable comments, legitimate comments, when you draw them out, when you call them out, when you pinpoint inefficiencies. They're very quick to come up and scandalize you. Fear not. Fear not, my brothers and sisters. We have persons in this new Democratic Labour Party who are willing to fight the fight. And to the brave, warm-hearted ones, like my colleague, Faith Graves, my other colleague, Tyra, and many of you who continue to be outspoken, I say well done. Keep up the good work. Keep your hammer on the nail. Keep your hammer on the nail. Because it is going to go through the coffin. And Barbadians have not forgotten the power of their vote. They have not. But they see that we have a Democratic Labour Party that is refusing to go under. They see we have a Democratic Labour Party who is willing to go through the flames. We see that we have a Democratic Labour Party who is here and who is not afraid to tell the government what they are doing wrong. And not only that, we also offer solutions. A lot of my colleagues have a lot of valuable solutions and suggestions that the government should watch our democratic political meetings. They should. And get some pointers. It's okay if they do that. They could get the work started. So when we get there, we can just continue. No, it's sweating in here hot. But I am very glad, and I will say again, I am very glad and very proud to be a part of this party. And I will ask Barbadians, in ending here, to continue to be critical. Continue to do your research. Not everything that you see on the social media websites is always true. And we saw that when we had our water problems a couple weeks ago. They were saying the water on, but the water was not on. A lot of us didn't have water. Despite seeing that the water was fixed and the water was turned back on, we still didn't have water. So I want Barbadians to remain critical in how they view information being put out by this administration. Try to do the research yourself, or have someone in your family that is experienced or better able to navigate the research sites. Look for the information. Faith told us about the Auditor General's report. Wealth of information there. Although some of the things or the documents that are being put out, like the same budget estimates, was kind of hard for the average Joe to read and understand. I am being clear. I'm being very, 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 very straight. Without having an accounting background, this administration could get up and say almost anything. It should be put in a form that is more palatable or digestible to the average Barbadian citizen, so that they can make informed decisions and they understand what is going on at a layman's level. Everybody's not highfalutin, I use big words. Some of us speak normal. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, we have one or two more speakers to come. And I thank you again for having me. And you will definitely be hearing me again.
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Amoy Gildenborn. Let me take this time to acknowledge the presence of John Boyce, former Minister of Health. I don't think John didn't leave any notes on your desk when you left, so the current Minister of Health can at least follow something, get something right. I also want to acknowledge the presence of former Senator Peter Gills, one of tourism's gurus. Comrades, the party has given me the job of Shadow Minister of Housing. Wonderful job. So far, I've been asked for 2 plots of land. I've been asked also for 2 houses. And I've been asked to get rid of the Minister of Housing. I don't. In 2022, March 17, 2022, I bought the paper so that I wouldn't be misquoted in any way. The Minister of Housing, one of the many Ministers of Housing, said to Barbadians, and I quote from The Nation, Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance Dwight Sutherland is reaffirming his commitment to providing 10,000 housing solutions for Barbadians over the next 5 years, saying he has a strategy for doing so. 2024, February 17th, almost 2 years to the good. Government has identified more land as it makes good on its promise to find 20,000 homes for Barbadians and their families. Sutherland again. The last time I heard the Minister of Housing speak, he said that he was looking for buyers for the houses that were imported from China, the steel houses. Again, as I said, I like to see things for myself. I had a chance to visit an area called Pool Estate. Pool Estate consists of a number of abandoned, half-started properties overgrown with bush. The steel is rusting, the wood is rotten, and yet the Minister of Housing says he's going to provide 10,000 houses for Barbadians. I also had a chance to look at the project in 6 roads. All the houses are on the ground, overrun with bush again. And I spoke to one of the Chinese who has come in to start these projects. I spoke to him through one of these fancy apps on the cell phone, and we had a good conversation. He says to me that the houses they have come to build these houses and it will take a month to build. He was here about 6 months now. Comrades, the Barbados Labour Party is really making sport at housing in Barbados. Every single Barbadian in this room, and I can say this without contradiction, wants to own their own home and they want to be comfortable in it. Those of us of a certain vintage, remember how our houses started with a one roof, then a shed roof, then a kitchen, then a toilet and bath, moving from the yard onto the house. And this government, all it has been doing for the 6 years that it's been laymen in power is to promise people that they will get this done and the next done, and asking people to shut their mouths where they want to speak out. Where are the capital works projects that this government, I don't want to say inept government because we're streaming, that this government has promised that they have yet to fulfill. Not the botanical gardens, not the Freedom Park, because they promised to build the Hyatt, and rather than build the Hyatt, they build a hotel called on Nelson Street and call it the Freedom Park. So when the guards go there, the vagrants sleep in it. Not the monstrosity to build opposite Parliament that my grandson asked me if that is Flintstones, Dino Burger that they build there. I was at pains to explain what it is to you. Where are the capital works projects? Where are the initiatives that are designed for ordinary Bajans? I don't mean the rich and famous. Ordinary middle class Bajans, I think Amoy spoke to them just now, who can't get a proper housing loan, who can't get a proper mortgage. Government workers who used to enjoy telling their friends, I work in the government now, so I got a good job. Ask the chief agriculture officer. Where's she good job gone? Our two sisters before spoke to where the money gone. And you know at the beginning of my speech I said I had all beautiful people to speak. Hey, Ronnie, you got time. You got time. Our next speaker, comrades, friends, ladies and gentlemen, is an attorney at law. She is no stranger to politics, having, as they say, wetted her feet some time back. A good time back. We want to welcome to the microphone Miss Karina Goodrich. Karina Goodrich.
Good night, St.Michael North. I have to say good night to you first because I'm on your territory. So make some noise so that the Barbados Labour Party could see that we have people out right now supporting this party. Yes, make it some noise. I want to first thank Dr. Ronnie for allowing me to speak as a representative of the party. I want to acknowledge also that we have a political leader and the Democratic Labour Party is moving forward. Thank the Almighty God for giving me this opportunity. Thank the Almighty God for your life and for my life. Because tonight, we're going to get down to brass tacks. Not the brass tacks that you know, but the brass tacks that is going to happen in here tonight. I walk with my butt tonight. And I'm going to show Barbados this cover. I want the viewers to see. I thought it was a beautiful book that I was given by the Democratic Labour Party. It was compiled and edited by Ronald Jones. And it has the words of the late David Thompson. I turned to page 163. And it said, I cannot speak tonight unless I read a section of this so that the people of Barbados will know that we carry on this vision. And tonight, as we are addressing where the money gone, we need to keep this in mind. It says, I envision a Barbados that treats to the social and economic concerns of its young men, its elderly, and women folk in particular. I see a Barbados where key societal institutions in public, private, and civil society are empowered to protect traditional family values in this country. Wait for it, this is my favorite part. A country that does not punish families with high cost of living and high land prices, but gives every family in Barbados
the chance to make it in this highly competitive global community. What does that tell you? And my next question to you then, after you hear this, how do you feel right now when you go into the supermarket and you have to buy groceries and you recognize that you got a minimum wage salary or either you're barely making it pretty much and you can't even afford things in the market? How really do we feel when you're an elderly person, right? And you're living in a home and you want to see your grandson that real hard years do well, but still the money ain't going to the national stadium yet. They ain't going to the stadium promoting sports. So where is the money gone? I want you to answer the question tonight. How do you feel about the cost of living right now in this country? You answer. It's killing us. It's killing us, and it is a pain, as the late Mr. Thompson said. It's a pain, and it feels like a punishment. No, I had other comrades tonight that would have talked about housing, and I will address the housing issues tonight. The other comrade, Mr. Michael, Senior Counsel, he would have addressed it too. So, I always learn from the older people in the party, and I always use my mind to know what to take away, and of course, what to drop off. But let me tell you, this is a credible party, and I will say that again. This party is going places. This party is the party for the masses. This is the party for the poor. This is the party for the upper class, and this is the party for the middle class. We're not leaving out anyone. Let me address the housing problems now. Policy. What is the real, proper, reasonable policy right now that is suited for the country? Democratic Labour Party had the rent-to-own program. And what's happening now? What really is happening now? We have young people crying out, want housing. I here to speak on behalf of the people. I took this mic to be a fresh space to speak on behalf of the people. Mr. Abrams, Minister of Home Affairs, he was addressing Parliament, and he was speaking, and he was saying, if you apply for a house 28 years ago, and you don't know what happened, then you have to apply and put your name on the list. And you know what happened? He got a backlash. When he really comes, I said, why the gutty? You can't highlight the mongoose toy. Got ya! The people say, no, we apply for housing so long. I applied when my son was a baby. I know he's a man. And what happened in here? You come and you met these promises. You met the big man promises, so you got to fulfill them. If you come and you say, hey, we're looking out for the citizens and we're going to get the houses for the people, you have to do it. There's something called integrity. There's something called credibility. Right? And that's what we need more of in the country. I tell people this. Let the results speak for themselves. The Prime Minister said, Barbadians, we have to know the difference between facts and fiction. I'm sure that everybody here in the DLP, even in Barbados, because you can't trick Bajans here. Bajans is some smart people. They have the solutions. We are not a foolish community. We might be small, 166 square miles, but I can guarantee you we are not stupid. We know the difference between facts, and we know the difference between fiction. You understand? Okay, Auntie, once you get the message, we're sending it from the DLP tonight. We know the difference when you don't have proper policies in place for the people. We know the difference. We can see. And, you know, there's a saying that I love, and it says, who feeds it knows it. We could talk all day. If you don't feel nothing, you don't understand what your neighbor is going through. You don't understand what your neighbor is feeling if you don't go through it. So if I'm in the upper class, I might not be feeling the taxes and so on. But if I'm on the lower part of society, I'm going to feel it. So who do I rely on? I rely on the government. I'm not saying that we can't be empowered as a people, but I'm saying that more should be done on behalf of our people. If all the time we could talk money, and we talking money big, we borrow from the China bank. Dr. Ronnie went through all these banks. I said, my God, we see it all the time. You borrow from the China bank. Then you borrow from the European Development Bank. My God, you borrow from the IMF. Oh, jeez. Who else you going to borrow from now? We going to borrow ourselves as a nation? Make it make sense. Make it make sense tonight. We going to borrow. Then when the DLP get back in power, then you keep the Bajans. Be careful. When the DLP get back some seats, don't come saying it's we fault. We let want to know right now. You see all the banks I call? It's about 8. It's about 8. This is not our fault. Repeat after me. I want to have a witness tonight. This is not the fault of the DLP. Okay? Good. So we addressed that. It was last week or week before, I got the privilege of going up in St. John. Shout out to the Bathland people. Shout out to the St. John Society. I want to shout out to you because I know that Bathland Road still ain't fixed yet. And I would like to remind Mr. Griffith on your behalf to please fix the road. Please fix some of those St. John roads so that at least you could answer our question that we are asking tonight about the money. Too many roads here are bad and the delay is a pain. And even when you say, okay, but we getting them fixed, all right, we trying, I don't know if they're using some kind of sand or what. But after a while, the same roads, when we speak of longevity and how long they are lasting, they're not lasting long. And they vex too because they're driving a little Chevy that barely able with the potholes that the monkey could cook in. These potholes too big and they need addressing because the car repairs. If you are a driver of a vehicle, it is painful. And I seen so right from the Democratic Labour Party. I got distracted because I was actually seeing that Barbados are so good-looking people. Give a round of us a clap. Clap for yourselves tonight. We got some good people right here. We got some good-looking people right here in the crowd, and I have to say it. Thank you. We got some good-looking Barbadians. Another issue that I want to address. I know Dr. Ronnie don't want me to go on too long. We need to address the health issues in the country. As I said before, who feels it knows it. I've been to the hospital. I've heard the cries of the nurses concerning the salaries. And I know that they lack resources also in terms of the machinery. I know I've heard from the elderly about the persons who are suffering with cataract. They get one date from the QEH, and then when they come back ready and waiting and excited for that date, then you hear another year. Not even a day. You're being generous. It's not even a day. It's another year that you have to be waiting. And I have to say this. If you don't have money, what is going to happen to your health? Tell me. Private sector, come on. But you have to go and spend money at certain medical centers. I won't call any names because they don't want anybody to think, that you're bringing them down. But really and truly, if you can't get health care at the polyclinic or you can't get proper health care at the QEH, then you have to really have the money. And we need better health care plans. We need a good plan in Barbados, and this is where I go back to saying everything is about policy. When you have a problem in society, the first thing to do is to identify the target groups. You understand what I'm saying? Identify the target groups first. Who are they? Then you're going to look at the challenges that you will face then to implement the policy. Then you revise those policies. And after you revise those policies, then you see how you can remove as much as you can the problems that will come to those policies. But policies are important. I watched Dr. Ronnie. I watched my comrade, even Tyra. They would have even went through legislation concerning the cybercrime. And legislation is key. You must go through your legislation with a fine teeth comb. I do not know how Barbadians could ever think, don't vote. Don't vote, no. Legislation concerns you. What people put in legislation concerns you. What people put in policy concerns you. Because rainfall, sunshine, you feel it? You feel it? So at the end of the day, you need people credible, like how Dr. Ronnie would have addressed the cybercrime. So you will know, I might talk about it tonight, so you will know, wait, is our freedom of speech being infringed upon? Is it? If they pass legislation that will hurt you, will you think what happened? I want Barbadians to think of politics. Simplify it in your mind. I know you always think of politicians as people who will come out and speak big words and quote a lot of, high language. But think of politics in its simplistic form and think, how could these little things impact me? Yes? How could these things impact my life and what I want to see better? And who am I going to put in place to do this job for the country? There's too much mismanagement. Lack of transparency in the country. Why is it that we don't know? We didn't know actually. We have been begging for the figures. Begging and wondering about the spending. And still today, we are addressing it. Which means that it hasn't been addressed. It hasn't been addressed. We are wondering where the money gone. How is it going to be allocated? Don't even let me touch education tonight because I feel like I will cry for the pressures of the country. You want to tell me that care ain't care? Don't tell me that care ain't care. Teachers crying out. Students crying out. Even the bats getting vexed down by the school. You're talking about bat invasion. The bats crying out. This is tiring. And we are the voice. We are the DLP. We are the voice that will bring these things to the eyes of the nation. If you miss it, we are going to bring it before you. So many environmental issues are facing the schools. Too many environmental issues. Somebody even say online, but wait, you got 3 school holidays. You want to tell me that when the students are on holidays, that these things can be addressed? We still up to no and address school security as yet to make our students feel safe. We really bringing parents to feel that pressure to have to come out in the public eye to, should I say, express their frustrations. They are not coming out to express their frustrations because for them it feels like if they're at the end of the road. Why is that? Why is that? That it has to come to that, and then you put somebody in power and the person moving like the cockroaches at night. You're hiding from the people. When it was in St. John, they said the same thing. Stop hiding from the people. Show yourself approved. That's a biblical word. But I started to recognize that a good tree cannot bear bad fruit, but a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. So maybe we're expecting great things from the wrong people. Maybe the right people right here. The right people right here tonight. We have the right people right here in the Democratic Labour Party. We have a team of skilled persons. We have a team of persons putting together ideas and thoughts for this country. And no matter how the Prime Minister comes back and she tries to address it to shut us up, we are not shutting up. We've heard Barbadians, you ask for fresh faces, and my face come out fresh for you tonight. And we have the fresh faces. And Barbados, I will not be doing this unless I love my country. I have the passion for the country. And I want to see a Barbados that's one more time alive again and working good. I don't want to... Yes, man. I don't want to only go to Canada and feel like, boy, yes, I'm glad to get away. This is the country. I want to feel like that in my own territory. I want us to feel proud of our Barbados. I want us to feel like this is the nation that can do great things. This is not the nation that pushing brain drain, pushing the nurses away, pushing the young people away. Too much unemployment. Come on. Unemployment, then the minister, Mr. Colin Jordan, he eloquently said that, he's talking with the board to address, the minimum wage. But as we address the minimum wage, we know that the taxes are still pressing upon us. Privatization of the water bill, man, the water, you're tricking me. You're adding in things and you're adding in the levies and you think that we don't know. Remember, Barbados is a smart people. You need to provide proper opportunities to young people or the future of the nation. And that's why I get vexed about dealing with school issues too, because I know how hard it is for mothers to carry a child for 9 months. Some people even have miscarriages and you feel so bad because you want to bring children into the nation and you want to know that when the children comes here, that is a bright future ahead for them. And you have to provide the plans for them and you have to make room for them. You understand? Let me go back to brain drain again. When you do a degree at the University of the West Indies and then you come out and you can't find a job or you're not being paid for your degree, Barbados viewers online, I feel you though. I feel you 100%. I was there. That's why I'm here. Because I don't want you to feel what I felt. I want to be the voice for you. Let the DLP be the voice for you. This is not a me party. This is a DLP team. We need to provide jobs out there. This is not a hand-to-mouth country. Our foreparents worked hard for the land. I remember Mr. Guy Samirs down there. He made sure that he reminded me of that factor. Our foreparents worked hard for the land, and our foreparents and our mothers and our fathers, they want to see us doing well, and I want to see us as a nation doing well in our jobs. I hate to hear that young people are waiting 4 years and 5 years for jobs, and you're just out there. And what I learned from members of the bloc, I would say members of the bloc, is that we don't really have a lot of community activities coming from the ministers. We need to keep our communities alive. And we need to ensure that our youngsters are not idle and that we have things for them to do. The youngsters in St. John, they were putting together programs so that young people could play cricket, and they were asking for sponsorship. You have ministers. Are you remembering that people are the priority? That's what we stand for as the DLP. I saw it in the book. The same book that I'm alluding to right now. People first. It's not about one class of a people. It's about people first right through. It's about social balance, as my friend Mr. Richard see, that's your favorite word, yes? Social balance. Good. We are on the right page. Social balance. And we have to ensure that we are looking out for the future. We are looking out for the future of the young people of this country. We cannot be a people that get caught up in not seeing what we're supposed to see. Mr. Ralph Tarm said, do not be a people who follow blind obedience. This is not a nation for dictatorship, my friends. We stand for democracy, not dictatorship where you can't say something, and if you say something, you might get lost so in your tail. I am not the one. That is what we come to. You are not the one. The Democratic Labour Party is not the one that is sleeping. The Democratic Labour Party is not the one that's going to give up on the people. The Democratic Labour Party is not the one that's just going to have policies that will get you nowhere. The Democratic Labour Party is the people that stand for democracy, that stand for the group, for the masses. That is the DLP that we have. We don't believe in just borrowing all the time. We don't believe in lack of transparency. You heard our president said before, he wants to carry a people that will have integrity and can answer for the behavior which Barbadians may question. You have a right to question, because when you go in to vote that X in that ballot box, it is you that want to see this nation go forward. It is you that cast the vote, so you have a right. We hear that. I don't have a lot more to say, and I don't even want to waste any more of your time, but I hope that what I have said meant something to you today, and that it registered in your mind. So when you go into the supermarket, remember me. Remember the cost of living. When you go on the road, remember me. Remember the Democratic Labour Party. When you see the poor houses and people crying out, remember me. Remember the Democratic Labour Party. Remember what the president will come after me and say. Do not forget it. Do not let those words fall. We want to see a better Barbados, and I'm advocating for it. This is serious business. Don't feel just because, you see a young face that the young people playing, young people got the energy to go there, and that don't mean that I discrediting the old people. But I could say that I'm young. I'm only 36. Big up myself. I'm still not young. I'm still not young. So, I'm representing, and I want us to think. Don't just fix your mind on criticizing the DLP for what you think it was and where it was and what's not. The Bible says get out to Egypt. Right? Let me move forward. Let me get real. Let me really look to the problems. Let me look where we at right now and where you want to see Barbados go. Let me look at the credibility of the persons that are speaking. Right? I believe that this president that we have here is a vessel that Barbados should not lose. He's a vessel that Barbados should hold on to. Because I know that he's knowledgeable. And when I was on the outside, I must say, I have my questions too. I used to wonder what's going on inside the DLP. But I spent a lot of time with Sir Warwick Franklin, and he was telling me a lot of good about the party. Right? And coming into the party, this party has a lot of lovely people who wants to see the party move forward. Some things they may argue because that's the passion behind it, yes? But this man I know is a credible man that Barbados must not lose. Stop missing it. Stop missing it. You got too much degrees, man. Don't waste them degrees. Bright man. And we got bright ladies. And we got people in here that did well in their ministry. As Amoy said, look to the history. Look to the history. See what the ministries have done. Look back sometimes in order to see the credibility. That's the only time I advise you to look back. See the credibility of the people who are speaking and recognize that we had some people that gave great value. One of those persons I believe too was Ronald Jones. Because the Ministry of Education right now, one could do with it, as my learning friend here says. Honestly, we could do with it right now. We could do something better. Maybe anything, just anything better. Yes. Because right now, we are at rock bottom. And if this is where we are for education, with frustrating parents every day got to change schedule to see who going to keep the children. Parents now don't know the future of education because they're coming up with a formulated plan that song. I try to be polite. That's my personality. So I wouldn't change my personality to say some things that come to my mind. I do it like a strainer. I edit it. You see what I tell you? Bajans is smart people. You want to read their minds. I am going to give this microphone over to the next person. I thank you very much, Barbados. I thank you. Continue to watch. Continue to look out for the other members and the comrades. We want to see a better Barbados. God bless you. God bless this nation. Thank you.
Comrades, friends, ladies and gentlemen, give our comrade Karina another round of applause. When I came this evening, I told you that we had some beautiful ladies who were powerful speakers. They have not disappointed. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge a few other persons. Comrade Tyra Trotman, our Shadow Minister of Youth, and a bit of a firebrand, Tyra. Also, let me acknowledge the presence of our former General Secretary, Comrade Gyson Mears. I think he told me he's the tallest man in the party. I'm not sure. Comrades, the Barbados Labour Party has been in office, in power, whatever you want to call it, for close to 6 years. Have you ever sat back and given some thought to what they have actually done for the people of Barbados? They had a slogan about somebody cares. In the ensuing 6 years, they have launched a number of pieces of, I call it Nicodemus legislation because they do it by night. For example, they started with the COVID-19 legislation and they wielded it like master wielding the big stick. The Attorney General came on television smiling broadly or bigly and said if you did not adhere to the protocols, you would have to pay $50,000 or you'd be sent to prison. Drove Barbados into fear. You took a health crisis and made it into a criminal exercise. That's one. Then we had the Children's Rights Bill, which nobody in the government seems to want to address or indeed explain to the people of Barbados. What's the reason for it? Well, we know they ain't got no children, but they got nieces and nephews, I suspect. Then they came with the salt tax. foolishness. The sweet drink tax, more foolishness. Then we remember the debacle at the Springer School. Those persons who are trained in health and safety know that before any exercise like that is undertaken, there's a drill and a sensitization of persons so that when it comes, it will not be totally unexpected. But you took our little children, little girls, and traumatized it with foolishness. And no explanation, no excuse has been proffered to the good people of Barbados. Again, I think Karina mentioned it, swept under the carpet. And to top it all off, they've gone with something called a cyber crime bill, designed to stop people from criticizing them because they realize that bar stocks and cutting it, they want to buy and listen to them. So they want to get at people, and they're telling people that a police constable can walk through your door. You see, nobody's stopping to examine these things, because everybody's frightened to talk. But a police constable with a warrant sworn by a magistrate, and I got some foolish magistrate, pardon the lawyers in the room, pardon it. Got some good foolish magistrates looking around. Can sign off on this warrant and come into your house, snatch out your computer, carry you and the computer to the police station and beat you and interrogate you. It is a very serious piece of legislation, and we glossing over it. You know why we glossing over it? Because it didn't affect we yet. It didn't touch me yet. But when it comes home, you will understand how wicked and unnecessary it is. Comrades, friends, ladies and gentlemen, the theme for this evening's presentation was, where the money gone? Has it gone to pay the backbenchers' assistance, something unheard of in modern Barbados? Has it gone to paying exorbitant salaries to something called a peace program, and the peace program only exists in the head of Corey Lane? Has it gone to paying 42 consultants for God knows what? Has it gone to employing family members, friends, with sweet deals and lavish contracts? Has it gone to the persons who ran the whole project into the ground and the houses are still on the ground? Has it gone to the individual who built the extension to the A&E? Has it gone to those who received mysterious checks for Christmas parties? There's a biblical verse that says, and it was by John the Baptist, he said that I am not worthy, but there is one whose latchet or lessons I'm not fit to tie. Comrades, friends, ladies and gentlemen, the person who's coming to speak to you now, the latchet of his shoes, I'm not worthy to tie. I bring to you the president of the Democratic Labour Party, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood.
Good night. I have a lot to say, and I have a lot on my mind and a lot on my heart, and I've prepared a lot, and often I come with something prepared and then I am spirit-led. That is just how this works. And I want to say thank you to the women of the Democratic Labour Party. Thank you, thank you. I was talking to a friend the other night, and you know, she reminded me of something. She says, Ronnie, since you and Steve and all the team and everyone in the background, the secretariat, the officers, everyone in the canteen, everywhere, all of you, the foot soldiers, everyone have started this journey. She said, do you realize that you are surrounded by women and young people? And I was like, actually, that's right. We in this party have a lot to be thankful and to be grateful to the women and to the youth of this party, because the reality is the future is young and the future is women. That is just where we are. There's no getting away that this party's future is credible. This party's future is bright. You have seen it here tonight. Amoy, Karina, Faith. And I want you to give them the biggest, warmest round of applause that you could give them. Because without women, without young people, there is no Democratic Labour Party. There is no Ricky Harrison. There is no Ronnie Yearwood. There is no Steve Blackett. There is no Ralph Thorne. There's nobody. The women and the young people are the backbone. They're the engine rooms. They are the lifeblood of the Democratic Labour Party. And we should thank them for their service continuously. We should thank them for their service because they're not only here to move chairs and make fish cakes and bring drinks. They're here because they are minds and they're powerhouses, and they will change the face of this party, and they will change the face of this country. For that, I am confident, and I will surround myself with more women and more young people. Tonight, I'm going to be a little bit more somber than usual. And because we're talking serious, we always talk serious, but I want you to really listen to me with your heart as much as you listen to me with your ears. I want you to listen carefully to what I'm going to talk about in terms of the economy, in terms of the estimates, in terms of what it means for you and for your family. Karina did something, I'm not sure she realized what she did when she read that quote from David Thompson, because in essence, she captured the philosophy of the Democratic Labour Party as a continuation from Al Barrow to David Thompson and to now, because this party was built really on three fundamental policies and pillars: health, education, and social development. Without those things, there's no Barbados, there's no Democratic Labour Party. This party has been about service. Politics is about service. I've said it over and over and over and over again. And for those who come to the Democratic Labour Party, you come to serve. If you do not come to serve, do not come to the Democratic Labour Party. This party has to be about service. It has to be about making the lives of Barbadians better. And I know you probably think every single politician, every single leader says that. They say that because that's what you're supposed to say. But beyond saying that because it's what you're supposed to say, this party actually has done it. This party has done it over and over and over again. Have we made mistakes along the way? Of course we have. We did things that we should not have done. And we have to own up to them. You know, Pastor Durant today preached a powerful lesson about healing, about being able to say sorry, about being able to be man enough to understand and own your mistakes. Well, you know what? Tonight, I own the mistakes of the Democratic Labour Party. I own my mistakes. And for anybody who has ever been hurt by this party, or if you've ever felt hurt by me, I am sorry. I, Ronnie Airwood, am sorry. I am sorry if you have ever felt that way, because for someone who has always come to public life to give of service, that's all I know how to do. And that's all I've been trying to do from day one to now. That is why all of these young women and men are here, because we have to build a future. I know it's scary. I know it might look like, where are we going? Where are we going? I know it seems like we're being let out of Egypt, but nobody is sure where's the next destination. And we got a river in front of us, and everybody thinking, how we can get across that? How we getting through this? How we can do this? And the reality of it is that we have to, in part, be led by God. We don't have all the answers. I'm not going to stand here and pretend to you that I have every single minute plan and detail worked out. We don't have all the answers. And that takes real humility to say. We don't have all the answers, but we have enough of the answers that we know that we can do better than this current government. We can do it. From what you have seen tonight for these young women, they are a representative of what a Democratic Labour Party government has produced, because they are the children of our borough. They are the children of successive governments of the Democratic Labour Party. This is why we invested in education, social care, and health services. But can we do things the same way? No, we cannot. You're going to get a lot of long talk and a lot of loose talk about modernization, and people throw around words, lots of words. But what does that mean for your life? What does free education look like in 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029? What does healthcare look like in Barbados this year? What should it look like in 10 years from now? How do we provide social services to our people in 10 years from now? How do we provide for our elderly, given that 20% of our population by 2030 will likely be in that category of elderly? How do we provide for the new Barbados? How do we get our young men off the blocks and back into the classroom? How do we get our young women onto that next stage to break that glass ceiling and break the next glass ceiling? People think that it was by accident that these young women are here. It was by design, because in my heart of hearts, I believe that this country has to have a place for women at the table in a real way. And I make no apologies about that. Does that mean that I do not understand the role of men, and that men need to also rise for challenge? And the fact that when I go to my classroom at UE, and if it's a class of 20, 3 could be men. 20 people in a class and 3 are men. That's the kind of situations we are facing. So we have serious problems. We are facing the problem that we have an aging population, we have young men in crisis, we have debt rising, we have a school crisis, we have a health crisis, we have the economy is not growing the way it should be. Barbados is not in a good place. And you're probably thinking, well, this man got to be crazy. Why he want to inherit this government? Why are any of us here? Why is Faith and Amoy and Karina and Tyra and Matthew, all of these young people, even Ryan Walters, wait, but these people, but you really want this? You know why we're here? We are here to serve. That is it. There can be no other role but to serve. You know, last year, from this platform and many others, remember I had a little prayer and a little saying, the harvest is great. Pray We sit there praying for more workers. Send me some more workers. And you know, the Lord is moved in mysterious and wondrous ways. Sometimes it is not the way that you expect. But you see what happened? He ain't sent me some more workers. Look at what happened. Look at what happened. He sent us some more workers. And we have that worker in a political leader who is now leader of the opposition. And I always say, things happen sometimes not in the way you expect them, but when they happen, you embrace them with dignity, with maturity, with humility, and respect to the work of a higher power who knows things that you have no clue of. Because when I was praying for more workers, who would have thought that Ralph Thorne would have been that worker crossing the floor? Every night, and anybody who has been following used to say, Lord, the harvest is great. Send me some more. Send me some more. And he sent me some more. And now we got two in the Senate to work. And they will work. And they have to work on behalf of this party, because at the ethos, at the core of everything this party does, it is about service. They are now here to serve the people of this country. They are now legitimate embodiments and workers of the Democratic Labour Party. And I want to thank them for their current service, and I want to thank them for their future service. And I want to thank also, and I've done it a lot of times, I want to thank the General Secretary, because throughout this whole, we can get into the estimates, I can talk serious things, but you know, sometimes it's spirit-led. Throughout this whole, these last couple of weeks, you know, they say a day in politics was a long time. Well, I felt like I had 100 years. God, let me tell you, last was 100 years. And throughout it all, and I knew the General Secretary was always an honorable man. And people talk about people in politics not having honor and things. But I can attest to you that the General Secretary, Mr. Steve Blackett, for all you may hear, is one of the most decent and honorable men in politics in Barbados. And I will say that, and I will say that without contradiction. I'm not going to bring tales from school and talk about what happened. That's not it. But I want you to know, and I want you to understand clearly the type of man that you have in Steve Blackett as your General Secretary, and the type of man that you have in him as one of the leaders of the Democratic Labour Party. And I don't say that lightly. I say that really from the bottom of my heart. Because what I have been through and what I've experienced, this party would not have come through this without the wisdom, the maturity, the guidance, the tenacity of Mr. Steve Blackett. And I want you to give him a big round of applause tonight. I am sure you have read many things on social media. Steve got so much lashes this week. I said, Steve, Lord, you could tell anymore? The answer was, don't worry, Dr. Rodney, we got this. And you know what? We had it. And we came out of this stronger. We came out of this united. We came out of this as a whole Democratic Labour Party. And I want us... Will the journey ahead of us be easy? Of course not. Of course not. We got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. But the journey ahead of us now has more workers. Don't stop praying, though, because we need some more. So you never know who may miraculously appear as a worker. Because we get one, you never know, you might get 2 or 3 more. So pray for some more workers. Now, on the issue of, and you know when you see me roll up my sleeves, this is on the issue of the economy, I want to take y'all through a little bit of a little tour tonight on the economy, and we're going to talk about the estimates, because I want to set some context so that when y'all call in on brass tacks and when y'all out there and people talking things in the rum shop, you can say, no, that ain't true. This is the fact here. These are the facts. Now, Barbados had its strongest period of economic growth between 1961 and 1976. Now, when you look at the period of 61 and 76, who was in control of the Barbados economy at that time? Alvaro. We have not been able to credibly surpass that level of creativity, dynamism, and that economic growth since the 60s. Put that in context, Alvaro has been dead a long time. And it's always wonder, why y'all always talking about Alvaro? You know why? Because we have not even been able to match the wits, the dynamism, the mind, the mastery of that one single man yet in this country. That's just the reality. Everybody could talk and talk about the own years and this and dynamism. It is not. This is data. This is hard data. You don't talk rubbish. This is facts. We have not, that period 61 to 76 has been the most dynamic growth period of the Barbados economy. Yes, some people could say we were coming from zero, you had a lot to do, but all them things. But the record stands. And the period from 2009 to now has been a period of recession and stagnation. That's just the reality. We could fight it, we could talk about it, all them things. But the reality of why we are here and why those periods are because we have gone through a lot of external shocks. So let's say 74 to 75, we had the oil shock. 81 to 82, we had another oil shock. Gulf War was between 90 and 92. And then we had September the 11th in 2001. And then we had the global financial crisis from about 2009 to 2019, and then we had the COVID pandemic from 2020 onwards. Now, so the major factor for Barbados' economic vulnerability has been external shocks. Now, the question we are left with, if Barbados could recover like a Dominican Republic, a Singapore, Mauritius, other small island states, after their external shocks, we would be in a better position. The question is, why after external shocks we are always struggling, or we're always the last to recover? So take tourism. We are still not back to our 2019 numbers, whereas Jamaica, Bahamas, everybody else is surpassing St. Lucia, Grenada, everybody is back to where they were and higher. And we are still struggling with our numbers. Now, I want you to put that and bear that in your mind about the nature of our economy. I want you to come forward a little bit and recognize, however, the Prime Minister was gifted with a fiscal space that no other prime minister in this country had upon taking office, because she decided not to repay government debts that they were contracted to repay, and literally she was not repaying government debts for several years. So therefore, in our modern economic history, the Prime Minister of Barbados had more fiscal space and ability to do things than any other Prime Minister in the history of Barbados. So the question is, where the money gone? I say that to say it is a legitimate question to ask. It is not just a political question. Because you know when you say that, people say, man, you just playing politics. It is not a pure political question. It is a legitimate question you can actually ask where the money gone, given you as the Prime Minister had in the modern, think about it, in the history of all of Barbados, you had more space to do anything economically than any other Prime Minister. So where are the results? I saw on the news talking about a few garbage trucks and some buses and this and that and da. But that cannot account for having last year near $1 billion in borrowing, this year near $500 million in borrowing, $14.5 billion in debt, $5.5 billion of that is external, so foreign debt. So we owe people in U.S. money, so we got to pay them back in U.S. money because they've been taking the Barbados dollars. So how we can make that money? You see, over the next couple of months, you're going to start hearing these kinds of conversations because the reality is we have to start gearing up for elections as a party. I want to put you on election footing. It is time to get up, get your shoes, clean them off, get up and bar telephone, start calling people, start asking for that vote, go out there, knock on doors, do whatever you have to do. Democratic Labour Party, get up and start because the election is upon us. Do not doubt that. And when I say upon us, I don't mean tomorrow upon us. In 2 years, that's a short time. You got to start working now. You have to work now. Because the reality is, all of that fiscal space, all of that, and what has happened to the money? So the estimates, I want you to think about this when you hear all the fancy talk in Parliament next week. Bear this in your mind. The estimates that will be laid in Parliament for 2024, 2025 is a story that now COVID is gone and we are paying back the debt as normal. The government is literally back to begging you and the businesses and the private sector of Barbados for money. Because now they cannot get any more money on the international markets. They are now coming back to you. This is after they mess up the NIS, crash the amount of money the credit union had in the NIS to the tune of over $30 million. They not pay back your bonds, but now coming to ask you to help them out. And this is the reality. So let me ask the question. All of that space that the Prime Minister had when COVID began, all of that money that we borrowed enough money, billions. I just tell you, 14-point-something billion in debt was run off. Let's understand this. Did she use it to help poor people? Give my answer. She used it to help poor people? Did she use it to empower black businesses in Barbados? Did she use it to empower disabled among us? Did she use it to empower the elderly, who, as I just tell you, going to make 20% of this population by 2030? Or did she use it to empower her family and her friends and boost the political fortunes of the Barbados Labour Party on the backs of you? That's it. The Prime Minister wasted the opportunity, wasted the money because she was busy flying about trying to be world president or world leader, and wasted opportunities to develop Barbados. So let me put this in context for you. When you hear the estimates as well next week, ask yourself, does it develop a stronger economy? Does it put more money in your pocket? Does it put more money in your family's pocket? Does it make healthcare more accessible to you? Does it decrease the wait times at the QH? Does the estimates help to fix all of the problems that we see in our secondary schools in Barbados? And those are the questions. And if the answer to any of those questions is no, the estimates are a failure. That is just the reality. You're going to get people, oh, no, you can't. No. How else do you measure an economic program of a government if it cannot assist the most vulnerable, improve the lives of those in the middle, and put more money in your pocket? How else? I can measure it by fancy GDP and 4% estimated growth, and this buddy sitting down behind a chair talking this. But that is not your measurement. You had the economists coming out and saying the Barbadians are not feeling the growth in the economy. So that tells you it is not working. If you don't feel it, you don't have more money in your pockets, all the talk, they could talk from here to Hamilton, it does not matter. Because at the end of the day, you have to benefit from this. Now, I want to focus a little bit on health in the estimates. Because, and even before I get to there, let's look at the broad figures. So, this government literally will be spending $500 million more this year than it did last year. Prime Minister getting talk about capital expenditure and recurring expenditure. And it was so interesting to watch her trip up over herself, trying to explain that the funding for road was not recurring. It's a one-off cost. How can funding for road development be a one-off cost? Because that tells us why we are in the situation that we are in. How do you borrow and how do you develop a road repair or road maintenance program that is not a recurring cost? How does it get to be a one-off cost? The roads got to get repaired constantly and consistently. That tells you, one, she either don't know what she's doing, and worse yet, if that is the approach, that tells you exactly why the roads are in the state that they're in. Because you have the leader telling you it is not a recurring cost, it is a one-off cost. How is road maintenance a one-off cost? Anybody can explain that to me? It cannot be. There is no way that maintaining roads is a one-term cost. Because that tells me in a few years, we're going to be borrowing to pump another 30 million down in the ground. Literally putting it in the ground. So you have a situation where the government's expenditure this year is going to be $4.6 billion. Government revenue is going to be about $3.5 billion, so there's some shortfall there. Anywhere between $500 million and $1 billion, because they had to come out and correct the figures. So at this moment, we're doubting the accuracy of the estimates, because this is probably the first time, and I'm sure maybe John, Steve, Peter, anybody could tell me if there's ever been a time in the history of the estimates that you issue corrections of such magnitude on the headline figures in the estimates. Something's wrong. Something is definitely wrong. And the reality is, we are in serious trouble in this country as to our debt. I can declare tonight, Barbados is officially in a debt trap. We're heading towards one no more. We are literally in one. This Democratic Labour Party government is going to have to come up with creative ways to get out of it. I'm going to talk about some of them tonight. Because, as I said, the conversation needs now to shift to what does a future Democratic Labour Party government want for a future Barbados? What do I want Barbados to look like for you and for your children? What opportunities, what hand-ups, not handouts, what hand-ups can I provide to ensure that you and your families can live and live well and live successfully in this country? And I want to focus a little bit on health, because that is an important area. And the government has told us that they're allocating $37.5 million for hospital services. $13.6 million will be for policy direction and formulation, $11 million for primary care services. And what is interesting about this, you're spending $13.6 million on policy direction, while you are only spending $11 million on actual health care provision. So you are spending more money on managers than actual people on the ground who have to provide the services that we need. How are you creating a big superstructure of consultants and HR and this body, but you spending less money on actual provision of plaster, gauze, medicines, doctors, nurses, and everybody else that is required to make the healthcare service work? And what is going on with the model that they developed for healthcare? $60 million was raked in 2019 to 2020. Where has that money gone? And I want to address, because my colleague Amoy addressed it, Harrison's point. It cost us US $60 million to renovate Harrison's Point. We took a loan from the European Investment Bank to create a new facility that had 78 beds. And I can read something from the Prime Minister here. Morley explained, and this was reported in news, that the ICU facility was furnished with 78 beds, among other equipment. Within less than a month, we have a hospital functioning with equipment expanding for the first time in decades this country's primary ICU capacity to more beds than we have at the QH. So you're bragging that Harrison's Point got more beds than the QH when it was open, to the tune of US $60 million. And right now, the facility is sitting in St. Lucie catching mothballs. While QH is struggling with capacity, because QH, if you talk to the nurses and the doctors, QH does not necessarily have a problem with staff and the professionals. It is the capacity to do anything. Because you have a government that does not seem to recognize that 7 out of 10 people going into medical facilities in Barbados have issues with NCDs. So we designed the hospital. The hospital was built on the Democratic Labour Party. And it was built to deal with the Barbados Den. Barbados Den was sanitation issues, malaria, waterborne diseases, because you ain't got access, all of them things. Now, fast forward to 2023, Albaro, the LP created a middle class that had access to services, sadly access to fast food, access to all the modern amenities, and came with that NCDs. So now we have to change the nature of our health facility to deal with today's modern health issues. We have a different country. We have to change focus. Those are the type of conversations that Barbadians need to have. Those are the type of conversations that the Democratic Labour Party must lead on. That's just it. It would be easy to go out there cursing people, but that's not what this country requires. This country requires deep, thoughtful conversations about how we will change lives. How do we make health accessible in Barbados? And how do we do that? We stop the privatization of the Harrison's Point that has allegedly been suggested by the Minister of Health. A couple months ago, the Minister of Health was to the back page of the Nation or the front page, I can't remember, smiling, talking about the fact that they have been approached and they have investors and they're having preliminary talks with investors. So Barbadians spent $120 million to provide a premier health facility in the north of the country, now to sell it off for pittance to foreign investors. Well, our own QEH, think about this, is struggling to provide quality health care for you. What kind of government does that? So when you listen and you read the estimates, these are the stories that the estimates are telling you. Don't get caught up in the big numbers. These are the stories that the estimates are telling you. So let me put this in real terms. If you caught or you get a heart attack or a stroke and you live in St. Lucie, St. Peter, St. James, St. Joseph, St. Andrew, any of the northern parishes, exactly. But there's a facility in St. Lucie that could cater for all of them parishes, and in minutes, your life could be saved. But you have a government that has been sitting on it, seems like it is searching for private investment to sell off what we paid for. That is our money. That loan of $120 million is not magic money. That's your my money. That facility should be providing for the people of this country. Not sold off. So, comrades, brothers and sisters, I want, in light of that historical pattern, in light of where we are with the estimates, I want to explore a few things that the Democratic Labour Party will do. Because tonight I want you to go away and I want you to start saying, this is what a Democratic Labour Party government will do. And we have to explore and provide opportunities for economic growth and diversification. We have to provide greater local ownership and content to reduce the negative impact of economic shocks. And we have to build up strong foreign reserves to buffer the economic shocks, but not foreign reserves that we have borrowed. Foreign reserves that we have earned. And how do we do that? We just have to, as a party, and understand this. Understand as a party, we have to adhere, and let us not fool ourselves, we have to adhere to discipline when it comes to managing the economy of Barbados. We have to let people know that the Democratic Labour Party will be a disciplined party when it comes to their money. We will not spend it away. We will do the things that are necessary to ensure that there is a return, and a credible return, on every single dollar and cent that we collect in taxes from you. And we have to commit to doing this. We have to commit to meeting international standards. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that a Democratic Labour Party's debt to GDP ratio must be 60% or lower. There's nothing wrong with us as a party making those commitments, signaling to our partners in the international community, signaling to our partners in the region that we will do better. Because that is what a party that is mature, as Pastor Jordan this morning talked about maturity, that is responsible, that is what you do. You commit to do better. You commit and you understand that sometimes in the past, you didn't always get it right. But you come and say, hand, heart, I always get it right. But I will do better because now I know better. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the other thing that this party must do, and I believe this party must do, is that this party must diversify the economy. Everybody knows that we're highly dependent on tourism. Diversification does not mean shrinking tourism or international business. What it means is that you add to the industries. You add to what already exists. You create new opportunities for Barbadians to do well. David spoke to it. That quote. You create opportunities to build on the family values, build on the Barbados that we know to take us into the future. You're not throwing out the old to bring in the new. You're building on the old to get to the new. So when we talk about new Barbados and new vision and the Democratic Labour Party leading the way, do not think that we are betraying the vision of our borough. We have come to fulfill and to continue to fulfill the vision of our borough. Because the vision of our borough is everlasting. That is just it. The country was built on the philosophy, it was built on these three pillars of education, healthcare, and social services. And let us admit that we messed up a bit on education, though. We messed up. We messed up with them fees. We did. There's nothing wrong with that. And we got to be big enough to say, you know what? Sorry. Sorry, we got that one wrong. We were in a tight situation, and the choice was probably not the best choice, but we are sorry. But we commit to now doing better by you. And that is the maturity that Pastor Durant spoke about. Because if we want to be a credible government in waiting, we have to understand that we also have to speak to the people of Barbados about the things that they thought that we did not always get right and own up to them. But we can also speak to the things that we did get right. Expansion of 6 forums. UNESCO World Heritage Site. Best Dos Santos Laboratory. Housing development. Expanded spaces at nursery schools. We got all of those things right, you know. And we're right too. When it came to economic diversification, we got a lot of that right. Offshore medical education was going to be a key plank. That was right. Renewable energy. This party laid the foundation for renewable energy in this country. Do not let anybody fool you. It was one of the most creative, well thought out policies that this party implemented, led by Darcy. It was brilliant stuff. All they taught the Barbados Labour Party about renewable energy and going to the future. It did not start with them. It was not their policy. And this is not to be like trying to claim a win or upper hand. It is just the reality, because sometimes we have to feel good about ourselves. We have to know that we are good, that we have been good stewards of this country as well. And it started with the Democratic Labour Party and cultural industries. The cultural industry policy to allow cultural industries to take off, and Comrade Steve would know about that, because he did a lot of work there. These are some of the things that the Democratic Labour Party got right. But in comes the Barbados Labour Party administration, changed the target date for renewable energy policy from 70 to 100%, changed the date from 2040 to 2030, and introduced a higher tariff for investors in renewable energy, and literally just mess up the whole thing. Because right now, people cannot get on to the grid. So then talking things about this body and that body, it is because of their policies. That is what messed it up. The targets set by the Democratic Labour Party were well thought out. They were achievable. They did not think the minds in this party recognized that if you went to 100% that quickly, that the capacity of the grid could not take it. What do you think it was set at? You think it was an accident? What do you think the target date was 2040? Because they understood that we needed more lead-in time to get more space on the grid. You come hot and sweaty because you want to look good for your global fame, 100%, 2030. But nobody can't get on no more. Try to get onto the grid. Go and put solar panels on your house and try to get on and see what's going to happen. You can't get on because you mess up the whole project. That was a well thought out design policy of this party. You know, and Ross ended up here by accident at the expense of a CARICOM neighbor. But this party set the policy for offshore education. It was developed under this party as a recognition that we needed to add to our economy to pay our bills. Jones. He was definitely Jones in then. And the Cultural Industries Act, as I talked about, that laid the platform, was to lay the platform for new industries to take off. So, what are some of the things that a Democratic Labour Party government could do? If we were in control, what are some of the things? We know we're talking about, I got the bill with the labor clauses and concessions to the hotels. But you know who and how we should do tax concessions and credits. Why don't we give tax concessions and credits to restaurants, hotels, businesses, or nightclubs that feature live performances? Why don't we encourage live music? Give our entertainers a chance, spaces to perform, and also demand they are paid well and properly. Because if you hear some of the salaries that entertainers are still paid performing in the circuit, you would be shocked. When some of them were saying that the salaries ain't moved or changed since when in the 1980s or something, and people were shocked, it is true. Talk to them. Go to any club and just pull your sister. Talk, they will tell you. But government can help that industry by providing proper frameworks and concessions where they need to go. Instead of trying to create a labor bill because the Barbados Workers Union, under its current leadership, can't get nobody to join. Focus on the things that you need to focus on. There's enough employment legislation. This party provided the ERA though. How much you have all the protections you need. Think about the concessions now that you can give to small businesses and to people who want to provide light for entertainment to allow our cultural sector to bloom. You know, we used to got all the bands, Crossfire, Spice, y'all remember them days, Splash, After Dark, Earth Coalition. Y'all remember that one? Yeah. All the bands. And then you had the Christian ones, so I remember the Christian bands. Yes. Promise, all of them. The reality is, we have to promote our cultural sector in a serious way. We just give incentives and concessions to all kind of people. All kind of people come in here and we just roll out the red carpet. We have our entertainers here. We have people of value and worth. Let us treat them that way and let them help to power this economy. We talk about culture, but being serious. Being serious. We got to study and establish what do the craft industry provide for tourism. Understand what these people are providing in value for tourism so we can help them. Establish standards and certifications for authentic Barbadian craft. We always talk about how we import things from China and India and establish these certifications and these standards so that when craft is made here, it is legitimate, it is authentic, and you can get a premium price for it. These are real things that we have to do. How about the requisite standards for Scotland district pottery? Anybody got a standard for that? Anybody could probably make a pot and call it Scotland district pottery. It come from there. We know we don't protect it because we're not valuing the things that we can make money for. How about the geographical indicator for the billion-dollar industry that is rum? Why are we not, as a country, and I can't blame y'all, why isn't the government paying attention? These are the things that can build a new economy to pay the bills, to pay for the hospital, to pay for the education, the nursery spaces, to pay for the 20% of you that will be old in 2030. You know what's 20% of our population shifting dynamics to being basically non-productive units? We are moving from a youthful population to an aging population. And that comes with its whole set of problems. Whole set of problems. Somebody tell me don't get no more ideas. Don't tell them no more. But the reality is we have to show the people of this country that we are a credible party, that we have ideas, we understand the dynamics of what is required to change Barbados and move it to the next place. I can't get one more. All right, I'll leave that for the next time. But we know they're going to do nothing with it. Look, so as a party, as Barbadians, I want you, when you hear the estimates next week to begin, I want you to listen carefully, not so much to the numbers, and I want you to listen to the story of what the estimates are telling you about the kind of Barbados that this government is building. And when you listen to the story that the estimates tell you, you would recognize that the Barbados that they are building does not include you. That is scary, but that is just the reality. It does not include the working class. It does not include the middle class. So if you think you live in the heights and terraces and you're escaping, you lie. You are not part of their thinking. Because if you were part of their thinking, they will be making provisions so that you have more money in your pocket. They can probably come and tell you about reverse tax credits. There is no policy more tiresome and more annoying than reverse tax credits. And you know why? You know what reverse tax credits do? I take money from you in excess, and then I try to give it back to you as if I am giving you a gift. I shouldn't take it in the first place. Reverse tax credits are some of the worst policies for trying to give people money. Because if you were competent, you would recognize not to take the money, let people keep the money in their pockets, because when you have money in your pockets, what you're going to do, you're going to either spend it so you're going to go through the economy, or you're going to save it. So you're going to build up your own reserves. But when I take it from you, you know what you're going to end up doing? You're going to be struggling because that's the money you actually need. Then I'm going to come and give you as a reverse tax credit around Christmas or something, you're going to feel good, and it's all gone. And then I gonna lament, oh, what you ain't saving, what you ain't do nothing. But I starved you for a whole year and then gave you a bottle of water to drink. What you gonna do? You're gonna drink it all. And that creates a class of dependency and mendicancy that this Barbados Labour Party government likes. Because A Democratic Labour Party government will empower you. I commit to you, I will not take money from you that I do not have to take from you, because it is your money and it should stay in your hands. Why am I taking it to give it back? And you know when I take it, what others do? You know, you just got to pay people to take money. So when I taking it, that's a cost. So I spending money to take money, and when I giving it back, you know what I got to do? I got to pay somebody. That's another cost. So I spend money to take money, spend money to give it back. You in the middle getting squeezed because you ain't got the 2,000 or whatever in your hand for the year, so you don't got an extra couple $100 a month. And then I come in and announcing it as though it's some big thing. Yes, this government has given you reverse tax credit. There's nothing more sinister than a reverse tax credit. It's nothing to be proud of. The whole idea is that I should be able to come and say, we have not increased taxes, or we have not taken additional money from you, therefore you have X and Y to spend. That should be the message. Or if I am taking it, it should be directed and clear. The hospital levy, we know how much they're really raking. Anybody keep track? We know how it was spent. All of these direct levies, and we are not clear what they're being used for. When you look at the estimates, you can't see the breakdown. All you see is levy. What's it? That's it. Headline, levy. There's no transparency as to the uptake of the money or the spending of the money. And we commit to doing better. Somebody spoke to it. The estimates process needs to be simplified. It needs to be done properly. It needs to be laid out in a way that you as Barbadians will understand what is spending. You know how big the estimates are? About 800 pages. Who going to sit down and read 800 pages? We got to read it because that's our job on behalf of you, and try to explain what we can. But 800 pages? That's not right. We have to do better in this country in explaining these things to the people of Barbados so that you will have confidence and trust in your government. And that is what a Democratic Labour Party would do. So I want to end, and I'm going to borrow this from Karina because it's real hot in here. Jesus, I hear sweating. Jeez. Whew. I know I got the water, but Karina, I'll borrow your book from you, and I'm gonna read a quote. And I want to leave you with this quote from David Thompson, or we just call it David. The challenges confronting this country are not insurmountable. All that's needed is a vision, a plan, and a commitment to making it happen. Students of politics will recall how 40 years ago, this great political party was confronted with challenges of a more acute nature. Alvaro and his colleagues had a dream, and they set out on a crusade to create a just society. They had that as their mission, and they accomplished it. Brothers, sisters, comrades, that crusade to create a just society continues tonight. That crusade to build the new Barbados for you and your family continues tonight. That crusade starts with you putting on your shoes, picking up your phone, and starting to ask for the vote for the Democratic Labour Party. That crusade starts with you believing that the Democratic Labour Party is back. And I want you to believe that we as a party can confront the challenges that this country faces, because we as a party have done it before. This is not the first time that we have been down, but we have never been out. Never. And I want you to believe in your party, believe in yourself, and believe in your country. Believe in the foundation of this country that is family, that is set upon God, and build out this party. Do not be afraid. You have nothing to fear. The leadership of this party will stand with you. We will protect you. We will fight for you. We are always here. I know something. The road ahead is long, but the harvest is great. The workers are few. Well, they increased. The workers have increased. Pray for more workers. Ladies and gentlemen, are gone.
Ladies and gentlemen, a wonderful way to close this innings this evening. Just let me apologize. You would have seen on your flyers that the political leader, Mr. Ralph Thorne, was supposed to have spoken this evening. Unfortunately, I just got a text from him that he had a prior engagement which has left him perhaps rather tired, and thus he's unable to come to us this evening. But there will be other times. We had a wonderful evening. We had some lovely speakers in every sense of the word. We now ask Comrade Jeffrey Husbands to come and move the vote of thanks for us. Jeffrey?
Good night to everyone. Before I move the vote of thanks, there are two things I'd like to share. The Minister of Home Affairs at the police award ceremony said, ask the police to use their discretion. Well, you don't ask the criminals that shooting people to use their discretion too. Right now, the police in this country are using discretion because if they wasn't using discretion, some of these criminals will know, will expect what they receive. The Prime Minister said on night that the money spent in 59 buses, electric buses. She needs to tell the public the truth. That out of 59, 5 would come in this country that was left-hand drive. I had to go back to China. But 3 break down at Mangrove, that get an accident and write off. And every day on the news, on the bus stand, you hear we having challenges with the buses, so really gone. And the garbage trucks, second-hand garbage trucks. Last year, for a whole month, where I live, I had no garbage collection for a whole month last year. And it continues this year. This is February. We don't have garbage collection every day like before, every week like before. All right, move on to the voting times. I must thank the first speaker, Faith Grace. She's one of the candidates vying for St. Lucie. And that's all the people in St. Lucie give her your 100% support. We have another candidate, Sonia Goodrich, Karina Goodrich. Thank you very much for coming to St.Michael North. A lovely St.Michael North branch with loving people to address us, and we thank you very much. I'm Conway Bourne. Got your name correct? Bourne. Is she on? Oh. Now, make sure I'm ready for on this surname. Conway Bourne. Thank her very much for coming to St. Michael North to speak to us. Where the money going? And I know that when we leave here, we know where the money going. And who's the other speaker? And the president. And the president. Thank the president also for speaking and he speaks from his heart. And we know he have this party at heart. And with him, along with Ralph Thorne, this party will go stronger and grow stronger, and we will wrestle the seats from this government. I, one, will not be afraid to speak out. Not to bring this bill to me. I will speak out and stay focused. And brothers and sisters, remain focused. Represent your party, this great loving party. Represent it. Don't afraid to speak out. And for all who coming, thank you all for coming. And stay tuned. You'll hear more from St.Michael North.
Comrades, friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Comrade Jeffrey, for that very wonderful vote of thanks. Comrades and friends, we now invite you to share in some refreshment that we have set up at the back. Do what you have to do. And also to commit to a little donation as the bike goes around. Again, thank you for the support. Thank you for a wonderful night. Good night, and God bless you.